It's a nice day for a walk, but it's always a nice day for a walk in sunny California. And if you're ever in the San Fernando Valley area, you should consider visiting the Japanese Garden, located in the Lake Balboa district. It's a beautiful place for a stroll and uses recycled rainwater for the lake and pond, which has a funny smell that you get used to. But despite the strange odor, it's a peaceful and relaxing place to spend the afternoon. There's lots of koi fish and turtles swimming around, waterfalls, manicured gardens, and blooming roses in the springtime, which make it look like a paradise. But besides the streams and fountains and mystical landscape, there's also one other unique feature of this tranquil gem situated in the middle of Los Angeles. And that's the structure that you see located to the right of the screen. Does it look familiar to you at all? If you're a fan of the Star Trek series, this is the location where they filmed the scenes with the Starfleet Academy on Earth, also referred to as the Space Academy, used for the education and training of individuals for service in Starfleet. The Academy motto was Ex Astris Scientia, in Latin meaning knowledge comes from the stars. The Space Academy was said to be founded in the year 2161, or established in some form before the founding of the Federation, or the United Federation of Planets, the name for the fictional interstellar government that sent Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, and the crew of the Starship Enterprise on its mission of peaceful exploration. Commonly referred to as the Federation, it was introduced in the television show Star Trek and represented an interstellar union of planetary governments that agreed to exist semi-autonomously under a single central government based on the principles of universal liberty, rights, and equality, and to share their knowledge and resources in peaceful cooperation, scientific development, space exploration, and mutual defense. The total number of formal member worlds was over 150 in the 24th century, and at its height, it numbered 350 members and encompassed 8,000 light-years of space. Unlike its imperial rivals, who derive power from a single species subjugating other races, the Federation's various member worlds joined willingly and were equals in the Federation's democratic society. While Star Trek was a fictional series, there are those that believe it was based on reality, as there have been recent disclosures, especially regarding the events surrounding World War II, which imply that humanity has a parallel yet secret space program which was based on technology innovations achieved by nationalist Germany before, during, and after World War II, which has been effectively hidden from the general public for the past 75 years. The most common question I get is that if the Germans indeed had advanced technology, such as anti-gravity and flying saucers, then why did they lose the war? If the Germans had the ability to reach the moon and possibly establish a lunar base, then why didn't they use their UFOs to defeat the Allies? And that's a good question. And let me answer it like this. Even though Floyd Money Mayweather is recognized as the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world, with an undefeated record of 50 wins and 0 losses, a man of athletic talent, technical skill, and recognized as the best defensive boxer to ever step in the ring. But if Money Mayweather were to agree to fight against yours truly, and I had 20 other clones of me, that means 20 of me against one Mayweather at the same time, we would beat Mayweather in the first round. Mayweather is 5'8" and 150 pounds. I'm 6'4", about 230 pounds. And if there were 20 of me simultaneously punching him at the same time, that means 40 fists. His superior skills, talent, and boxing ability will not save him. And likewise, Germany absolutely had superior scientists, technology, and equipment, but they could not compete against the manufacturing capabilities of the United States. And having a few anti-gravity prototypes could not stop thousands more planes carpet bombing your supply lines, thousands of more tanks, and at least 10 to 1, if not 20 to 1, of all military supplies, including more soldiers. That said, the Germans knew the writing was on the wall halfway through the war, and while they were retaining hope until the end that they would find a way to develop their technology enough to turn the war around, they did not want to expose their technology to the enemy, and moved their most advanced developments to their Antarctic base, where after surrendering the German mainland in 1945, they defeated the Allies in 1946, who invaded Antarctica with 3 aircraft carriers, 4,500 troops, in what is still publicly called a scientific expedition codenamed Operation High Jump.
Join a paid COVID-19 clinical research study to gain exclusive access to treatment. Do you have a cough?
Of course, the following year, after the Allies suffered a humiliating defeat in Antarctica, the world became aware of the Roswell incident, where a UFO, or flying saucer, crashed into the Nevada desert, and within a few weeks, the CIA was set up and the media informed the nation it was a weather balloon, while conspiracy theorists insisted it was little green or gray men, anything but tall Aryan men with German accents. From then on, UFO sightings continued, as well as a new phenomenon in the early 50s known as contactees, or people that claimed to not only see round saucer-shaped craft, but interacted with people that claimed to be from Venus or Mars, with striking features and often long blonde hair. There's the Billy Meier case, a photographer from Switzerland that claimed to have contact with several beautiful aliens that started in the early 50s. While most people discount his photographs to be a hoax, the craft were round and disc-shaped, and the occupants looked Germanic. Then there's the George Adamski case, a Polish-born American citizen who also claimed to have photographed spaceships from other planets and says he met with friendly Nordic alien space brothers who also looked like typical Germans. While Adamski was also denounced in the media as a fraud, his photographs and video also resembled the round Vril craft that leaked documents from the KGB after the fall of the Soviet Union showed to not only have a similar shape, but the same 3 round gravitational stabilizers below the craft. It's the same shaped UFO that was spotted hovering over Los Angeles in 1945 for several hours in the famous incident the newspapers called the Battle over Los Angeles, where not only thousands of people witnessed the craft hovering in the air, but thousands of rounds of ammunition were shot at it, seemingly having no effect. Keep in mind, this was during World War II, and while the craft did not appear to be armed, it might have been to show off the technology in an effort to bring an end to the war. Probably the most famous contactee case was the one involving Betty and Barney Hill, an American couple who claimed they were abducted in a rural portion of the state of New Hampshire, where under hypnosis, Barney Hill not only described the alleged extraterrestrials as looking like an Irishman, but he used the word Nazi, saying that the occupants of the craft were Nazis.
You say there, did you say it was 1,000 feet away?
Oh no.
1,000 yards?
It doesn't look that far. It's very big. And it's not that far. And I can see it tilted toward me.
Tilted? What does it look like now when you say tilted? Did you see wings?
Looks like a big pancake with windows and rows of windows and lights of not light, just one huge light. And
rows of windows like a commercial plane?
Rows of windows. They're not like a commercial plane because they curve around to the size of this pancake. One person looks friendly. He's friendly looking, and he's looking at me over his right shoulder, and he's smiling.
Could you see him clearly?
Yes, I thought.
What's his face like? What does it make you think of?
It's round. I think of a red-haired Irishman. And
you saw him through this window, or you said there was a row of windows?
It was a row of windows. Just a huge row of windows. And the evil face on the, he looks like a German Nazi.
He is a Nazi. Did he have on a uniform?
Yes.
What kind of uniform?
It was black.
Did you try to get unemployment but not get it? Maybe your friend's claim is stuck? We've helped over 600 Americans.
Which brings us to the Washington, D.C. incident, where on July 12th, 1952, a highly publicized sighting took place in the Capitol above the White House as a dozen saucer craft casually flew in the sky in another apparent demonstration of technology or a show of force or technological superiority, which some claim convinced then President Eisenhower to secretly meet with aliens or Aryans, depending on who you ask. I don't doubt for a minute that the vast majority of people listening to this will have already made up their mind that there's no way that the US government met with anyone, be it aliens or Germans, because the vast majority of people also let the mainstream media do the thinking for them. And the media, up until now, has not yet acknowledged the existence of UFOs. That is, up until now.
So this is from the former head of Israel's space program, Chaim Eshed, who says that aliens have been in contact with the U.S. and with Israel. What does he refer to? The Galactic Federation. That he says has been in touch with Israel and the U.S. He also says that Donald Trump was going to reveal their existence, but then basically got talked out of it, I suppose.
Yeah, and look, he's 87 years old. According to him, he says he has nothing to lose. He's a decorated former Israeli general, former space security chief. He's been awarded a medal 3 separate times, 2 secretly, for actions that kept Israel safe. Clearly somebody who was regarded well by that government. Now, what he's saying is kind of crazy. He says that the cooperation there's a secret pact between the U.S. government and the Galactic Federation, that the cooperation includes a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives.
Last week, a high-ranking and distinguished former Israeli space security chief not only claimed that extraterrestrials exist and President Trump knows about it, but that a galactic federation also exists and is waiting to make official contact. Allegedly, contact has already been established long ago with governments of the world, since he claims that the United States already has military personnel in underground bases on Mars.
Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years. Chaim Eshed is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years, not immigrants, but extraterrestrials. He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is. Well, the good news is that he claims an agreement has been reached between the US government and the aliens, a contract to do experiments here. There's also, he says, a secret underground base on Mars where there are American and alien representatives. Now, this former head of a branch of Israel's defense ministry is 87. He was very well respected. He says he's come forward now in the hope that his news will be accepted as true. He notes that if he'd made these claims 5 years ago, he would have been hospitalized, but now he says, I've got nothing to lose. Well, so far, President Trump has not tweeted about this, though remember a year ago, he did set up the Space Force as the 5th branch of the US Armed Forces. Well, we did ask the White House, the Department of Defense, and Israeli officials to comment. So far, they have not responded to the NBC News request, and I wonder if they ever will.
The topic of a secret space program is not new and has been discussed for decades, though only recently being reported on in a serious way by the mainstream media. While the majority of the discussion about a potential galactic federation implies that all of the alleged aliens are a totally separate species from us, if they exist at all. But brave researchers from the time just before the internet era of social media have risked their lives disclosing what they believe had its roots, at least in part, involving events pertaining to World War II. Remind the world of his efforts, which have impacted many researchers in the field that continue to push for full disclosure, including myself.
So Vladimir, welcome, and I'm very glad that you managed to make it.
Thank you very much for your invitation.
Now, Vladimir, I've looked at your credits and I'm terribly impressed. In fact, looking at what you've done in terms of education, I'm really surprised. Here you have a Bachelor of Science in Physics, you have a Master of Science in Electronics, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. You have brought on to me an awful lot of information about about Nazi Germany and the technology that they had in the 40s. Now, I am absolutely astounded by the information that you have to share with us. you have brought on pictures. Could you please tell us about these pictures and what they actually are telling us?
Well, in one sentence, while researching UFOs in general and the terrestrial component of the alien presence in particular, namely secret terrestrial programs that have been dealing with anti-gravity and secret space programs for the last almost 100 years, I realized that a lot of these secret projects are covered up behind the alien smokescreen and later on laundered to the general public as an alien technology gift to us. And in order to pull the carpet from under the feet of the government, or let's call it the party line American ufology, I've been doing research on Nazi UFOs, on the 50 or more basically different models of craft that the Germans built before and during the Second World War, powered by every engine that was in production in Germany at that time, by piston engines, Wankel engines, turbojet engines, ramjet, pulse jets, rocket engines, and the final and most advanced models were powered by electromagnetogravitic drives. These are the most, basically no moving part drives. But in order to convince someone that this massive research and development conspiracy, let's call it, and this secret space program run by the Germans has been on for all these years. Actually, the persistent rumors are that the Germans landed on the moon and Mars before the war ended. And later they were followed by many other secret programs, but we will talk about that probably in a future show. The Russians and the Americans landed on the moon and Mars in the late 40s and early 50s respectively. An Italian team landed on Mars in 56. Many superpowers have been actively pursuing secret space programs based on anti-gravity propulsion. But in order to convince someone of the existence of this massive research and development conspiracy, one first has to be convinced of the existence of political and economic conspiracies in this world.
You talk about Germany already. Does this actually mention that Germany, before the Second World War, being involved in very, very advanced technology?
Yes, actually these books mention a lot of extremely bizarre, almost science fiction military technologies. And the first book that mentions particularly the first several models of flying saucers that were built in Germany is the book Intercept UFO, or Intercept But Don't Shoot, by Renato Vesco.
Now, Renato Vesco, was he part of the Mussolini government?
Renato Vesco was actually a very leading figure in the Italian research and development effort. He was the research and development boss.
So, it's your friend's birthday. How do you find the perfect gift? Download the Amazon app and let it find you. Just seen your mom
Initially, Martin Luther was only calling for a renewal of the church and
A strange sight in the sky last night over Oahu caught the attention of many people.
And it's not just fireworks lighting up the sky in West Oahu. Perplexed residents on the Leeward Coast are searching for answers.
As the clock counts down the last hours of 2020 here, some countries have already ushered in the new year.
New at 10, mystery in Mesa. At least one neighborhood worried the loud bangs they've been hearing for weeks. Maybe more than just fireworks and celebration.
Elk Grove police say it's just one example of loud booms people have been reporting for weeks.
A lot of us are going to be extremely happy to say goodbye to the year that was 2020. That includes these guys. Take a look at this. US robot developers Boston Dynamics posted this new video online demonstrating its Atlas, Spot and Handle robots dancing in sync to the song Do You Love Me by The Contours. The coordinated, wired proteges dance floor display came with a New Year message. Our whole crew got together to celebrate the start of what we hope will be a happier year.
Something is in the sky. What is that?
Perplexed residents on the Leeward Coast searching for answers after a lit-up unidentified flying object reportedly plunged into the ocean near Ulehava Beach Park. There are multiple videos of what appears to be a glowing oblong mass, both in the sky and then in the water.
Definitely really unusual to see. They were super bright. I guess I couldn't really get the full gist of it with my camera since it was so far away, but it was really, really bright.
Officials from the Federal Aviation Administration say there were no aircraft incidents or accidents in this area Tuesday night, but multiple witnesses report seeing a large blue object fall out of the sky and into the ocean. The 38-year-old says she's never really been a believer in UFOs, but the bright blue object had them so intrigued, they jumped in the car and started following it.
I don't know what it was. This one was going so fast.
The journey ended less than 3 miles from where it began, on Farrington Highway in front of the Board of Water Supply building, after the object appeared to drop into the ocean.
Oh, the going land in the water, whatever it is.
She described it as being larger than a telephone pole and says she never heard it make any sound. While officers were on scene, she says they spotted a second light.
My husband went to look up and he seen the white one coming. The white one was smaller, was coming in the same direction as the blue one.
They lost sight of the object after it passed over a nearby mountain. This morning, we asked Honolulu police if investigators figured out what fell in the water. A spokesperson told us they didn't have any information. Meanwhile, officials from the FAA said they received a report from police Tuesday night about a possible plane down in the area, but had no aircraft disappear off radars and no reports of overdue or missing aircraft.
That's like a UFO ball.
Although Mariah's had a couple days to think about it, she says she's still baffled by what she saw.
I'm not an expert on these things, but it sure was scary.
In this East Mesa neighborhood, word travels fast.
Everybody seems to be saying, I don't know where it's coming from. Nobody can solve it.
All's calm outside usually, but when the sun goes down, the blasts begin.
It was scary big. It was not your normal firework kind of boom or just a noise from a car or something. It was a lot louder and scary.
Amy Reed caught this flash of light in what sounded like an explosion on her home security camera last week. The boom shook her entire home.
I thought I would just see somebody's house had blown up. You know, I was expecting I'd see fire in the sky or...
Even after neighbors like Reed say they've been reporting this almost every night.
They said they've definitely been getting all the calls from our area for all these different nights, and several of them each night. And they said, we'll go check it out, but mostly there's not a lot we can do. But if that one happens again, that's gonna be something else. You know, that's a whole different story.
Mysterious explosions in Elk Grove. The blasts caught on camera that have police officers baffled. And that's where we begin at 5. Loud explosions, shaking, rattling, and rocking neighbors in Elk Grove. Good evening, thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Curtis Ming.
And I'm Elizabeth Kling. For weeks, police have been getting reports of these loud explosions.
This mysterious exploding sound is sending shockwaves throughout this Elk Grove neighborhood.
Just heard all of a sudden this loud boom.
Nate Sanchez says he felt vibrations.
I
feel like the reason we woke up was more because we felt a little bit of a shaking than anything else.
For several weeks, random loud booms have been rattling different Elk Grove neighborhoods. Chris Carpenter says it's not the first time she's heard the alarming explosive sounds.
Just random, just every once in a while.
Well, this is alarming, and it's a mystery at this point. What's the best guess at what's causing these blasts?
Well, right now, because it's such a mystery and these reports are pretty sporadic, although most of them on the southeast side of town, right now it's still unknown what these random blasts are.
Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. Look at this. This eruption started with an earthquake on Sunday on the volcano's south side. It's the worst eruption since 2018.
It shows lava erupting from a fissure on the left side of your screen and a lava to the right of it, a lavanado, that is, over to the right of it, over that lava lake.
Is a rapidly evolving situation. A giant plume of steam and ash could be seen rising from the glowing orange crater. People who lived downwind being warned to stay inside to avoid the ash and to be prepared to leave. There have been no early reports of injury.
No problem. All they're doing is they're serving us notice. This is their notice, and so she, with her autograph, has entered into the law with ours.
The Kanaka Garden has returned to Wailoa and Hilo.
If they're not removed,
And state law enforcement is already ordering those involved to cease and desist.
I can take that.
Not just a garden, not just food, not just health, not just sovereignty. And this is a place to bring all people together.
The community garden, located on the lawn fronting the landmark King Kamehameha statue along the Hilo Bayfront, has reappeared in recent days. A variety of canoe plants are now in the ground and are being tended to by a group working out of a nearby tent. The Kanaka Garden first made headlines in 2013. Back then, kalo was planted in a smaller area near the statue. The actions were in defiance of state rules.
This is the Kanaka Garden, and Kanaka not necessarily meaning cocoa blood, but Kanaka in Hawaiian is actually true human being.
One of the main organizers was Gene Tamashiro, who for years has challenged the legitimacy of the state to enforce such rules on public lands.
But the United States does not have lawful jurisdiction in Hawaii to create a territory and then again to create a state of Hawaii because there is no lawful treaty of annexation.
The Wailoa River State Recreation Area falls under State Department of Land and Natural Resources jurisdiction.
Come nighttime, man, we'll pull out the kalo.
The events of 2013 ended with the removal of the kalo plantings by state law enforcement, and the gathering was scattered until today. As of January 5th, 2021, a much larger area has been planted. A man named Arrow shows the work that has been done.
All the water coming down out of the mountains. The entire area from downtown over to the airport was a floodplain with kalo, with fish ponds.
For Arrow, who said he is houseless and normally lives in the area of Lower Puna, the resurrected garden is an opportunity to feed the people.
We built this for the ancestors, and we built this for everybody to come together.
But really what we want to do is we want to return natural law justice back to Hawaii. Back to Hilo.
On Tuesday, Gene Tamashiro was also back at the park, helping to organize the renewed effort.
Because the whole world is under literal lockdown. Hello, gentlemen, right? We're in lockdown, and we need full disclosure and substantive due process to somebody bring the evidence that this lockdown is based on actual true science.
Tamashiro welcomed the media coverage.
Largely because of John's article. He put in his article at the very last paragraph the bottom line of this controversy on this soil. Any controversy of any aina, any land, the question to ask in law, who has superior title? There you go. So who's supposed to answer that for the state? Attorney General Claire Connors, head of DLNR Suzanne Case. Now both those wahinis working for the Occupying Corporation I've been serving paperwork to these guys for years. Have they ever responded and put in writing with their autograph? Here's the evidence, Gene. Here's the evidence of our true title. All they do, if they do anything, just like the judges, is they say, this was already adjudicated by the Supreme Court. Okay, so where is the evidence that anybody adjudicates anything?
As Tamashiro spoke to the media, officers with the State Division of Conservation and Resources Enforcement arrived on the scene.
And then Gene Tamashiro is the guy.
This footage was recorded by the DLNR and released to the public later that day. The officers got to work notifying the participants to cease and desist by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, January 6th. As the officers attached their notice to the Kamaka Garden sign, Tamashiro approached.
What we got here?
Right, let me just finish with this.
Okay, no problem.
We'll explain what we got.
Okay.
Good morning, Gene.
Good morning, sir.
And so we're here today to serve you with a notice of cease and desist and to remove all the property that you guys put up.
Okay.
So this notice is for you.
Okay, and you got my notice?
You gave us
I'm going to give you one. You give me one, I give you one.
Sure, I'll take that.
Okay, there you go. Thank you very much.
Okay,
so we are now engaged in the law.
Okay, so let me just finish real quick. So,
Yes, sir.
so this notice to cease and desist. And,
Okay. That's a claim.
Yeah,
I'm glad she wrote. Did she sign it? Boom. Okay, good.
So you have until 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to remove your items.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So let me explain how. No, I'm not ready to say goodbye yet. Thank you. No, go yet, gentlemen. You gotta honor your oath. Don't just walk away, because I have evidence. If Suzanne if she does not prove that she has superior title, okay, then war crimes continue, and don't be a part of that. This is their notice, and so she, with her autograph, has entered into the law with ours. Our autograph, our signatures, all in the public record. So if these guys obey her and they don't make sure she brings forward facts and evidence to prove this INA is not Crown land, if she can bring evidence that this INA belongs to the state of Hawaii, we will all go home.
No, thank you though. I appreciate it.
In a later news release, state officials said the recreation area and all other state parks belong to all of Hawaii for the enjoyment by residents and visitors. The department noted that the participants don't have any permits for planting or for erecting signs at Wailoa, and that the cease and desist order requires the group to remove tents and other camping gear, or the materials will be considered abandoned property.
Oh, you can't answer your questions. I did not know that. You guys have a great day. Thank you guys very much. Sorry. We don't understand.
So here's the problem. 48% of Americans aren't invested in the stock market, and 57% of Americans.
The eruption of Kilauea volcano on Hawaii Island has entered its second week. Scientists continue to monitor the activity within the rising lava lake at the summit. The U.S. Geological Survey's Hawaiian Volcano Observatory says the activity is confined to the summit caldera, with lava erupting from vents on the northwest side of the crater. HVO says there is no indication that additional magma is currently moving into the rift zones beyond the summit area. While no major changes have been observed, scientists have been documenting the evolution of the active vent, which continues to feed lava flows into the lake below. This thermal time-lapse was recorded on December 29th and shows the dynamic of the west vent. The lava was moving through a crusted-over channel and was entering the lake below the surface. As the lava enters the lake, it produces localized upwelling at the surface. By January 2nd, there appeared to be an increase in eruptive vigor. This small, dome-like fountain was seen breaking through the surface crust. In this video, the dome fountain is estimated to be 16 feet high and about 33 feet wide. These dome fountains have been observed during previous eruptions. Scientists say they can occur when lava rapidly emerges from a constricted vent or fissure onto the surface, in this case, the surface of a lava lake. On Tuesday morning, scientists observed a small breakout from the lower part of the west vent tube, captured in this telephoto aerial image. The scientists also report that the lava lake itself is becoming perched. It has developed a subtle levee around its perimeter that allows the lake to be slightly perched above its base, like a mesa. The levees grow from repeated small overflows. The crust forms a barrier that impounds the fluid lake. HVO says this geometry has been common for lava lakes at Kilauea in the past. The perched lava lake geometry is more apparent in this thermal image taken on Tuesday morning. It shows how the cooler perimeter of the lava lake is widening. Islands of solidified lava can also be seen floating on the lake's surface. The largest of the islands, seen near the active west vent, is about 7 acres in size. This video, sped up 20 times, was recorded just before the new year. It shows a process called foundering, in which a segment of cool crust on the surface of the lava lake is overridden by less dense liquid from below. This causes the crust to sink into the underlying lava. This process of renewal occurs repeatedly throughout the life of a lava lake. Sulfur dioxide emission rates are still elevated. Measurements taken on January 3rd were in the range of 3,000 to 6,000 tons per day. It has been in that range since December 27th. This amount of SO2 was common during the previous summit eruption in Lava Lake, prior to the 2018 caldera collapse. Fog is now a common sight around the island, most often in areas of West Hawaii where the volcanic smog is known to collect. This hazy view was taken in Kona on Monday morning. Scientists say instruments at the summit have recorded weak deflationary tilt since January 1st. Seismicity remains elevated but stable, with steady tremor and a few minor earthquakes. HVO says it continues to collect detailed data to assess hazards and understand how the eruption is evolving. This information is being shared with the National Park Service and emergency managers. Officials say access to this hazardous area is by permission from and in coordination with Hawaii Volcanoes National Park.
I spend my days taking risks. But when it comes to car insurance, I don't take any chances. And that's why I switched to Mercury.
Mercury.